After watching this video a couple days ago, it got me to thinking about the state that the WWE has put itself into and the sad state of the programming they produce. Now, first off, I want to start by saying when I was younger, I was a huge fan of WWF. I watched every single program I could from the age of about 5 back in 1988 till I was like 17 years old back in around 2000, 2001. And all I can say, and then I haven't really watched very much in the last 9 years. I actually think the last WWE produced program I watched prior to starting watching Raw again was the September 11th the broadcast they did after 9/11. Recently this summer, on Monday nights, with there being nothing on TV really that's worth watching, I decided to start watching Raw again. All I can say is wow. I mean, it's not even funny how bad some of the stuff they're doing is. I mean, it's absolutely embarrassing to see the comedy bits that aren't funny and the dramatic stuff that just simply doesn't work. I mean, you have writers on this program who should not be writing wrestling. They belong writing bad sitcoms or second-rate teen dramas. They basically killed professional wrestling by turning it into a steroid soap opera for boys between the ages of 7 and 14. All you have to do to see proof of that is look at The Undertaker when he first debuted and now look at him now. I understand people grow and change over time, but there's no way you go from being the way he was when he first started to looking the way he looks now. Same with Triple H. There's no way you go from being a tall, scrawny-looking guy to being a muscle-bound monster without some kind of assistance in some way, shape, or form from hormones or other wonderful things that people that they would be injecting into their bodies. But that's beside the point. But one of the biggest things I can't stand about WWE's programming now are the divas. I hate them. I don't like them. I don't find any of them interesting. I mean, when I was growing up, I remember watching Miss Elizabeth and Sherry Martel and Dusty Rhodes' manager Sapphire. There was real personality there. They had personality. Sherry Martel was called Scary Sherry. She was known for having a temper and throwing tantrums and stuff. And you had Miss Elizabeth, who was always very beautiful and well put together and dressed nicely, and she, looked very good. And there was Sapphire, who was basically basically the fun, good time person. Even they had male managers back then. I mean, Jim Cornette is probably one of the best managers of all time. He was one of the best stickman managers of all time. He could make you hate him without even thinking. Without even trying, he could make you absolutely hate him. As an aside, he's now got a podcast on Who's Slamming Who that I love listening to. It makes me laugh every time I listen to it, but that's again beside the point. The WWE's programming is just complete and utter. It's garbage. It's not. There's nothing there. But the best way to see what a total joke the WWE has become is their Hall of Fame. A Hall of Fame is supposed to be a place reserved for the best and brightest within an industry, be it the Hockey Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame, the MLB Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whatever. Hall of Fame is meant to be a position reserved for the best and brightest within an industry. Now, there are plenty of people in the WWE's Hall of Fame that belong there, guys like Ric Flair and even Hulk Hogan. to a degree, and Sergeant Slaughter and Andre the Giant, guys who really did do something and contribute. But there's people in there who, they don't belong. There's no reason that they should be there. Like Vince McMahon Sr.'s limo driver, and Bob Uecker, whose only achievements within the industry were being paid a nice fat paycheck to make personal appearances at WrestleManias 3 and 4, and also to be what they called a special guest attendee at number 7. I think he was, if I remember correctly, he was interviewed. I can't remember for sure, but I think he was interviewed, or he had something to do with it. He was at 3, I know that. If you actually watched his induction ceremony, you could totally tell it was just a publicity stunt. They didn't really care. He had nothing to say. He had nothing of any interest to say. Nothing of any relevance to say to wrestling. It was just basically Vince rewarding him for going along with a publicity stunt 25 years ago. But, I mean, you look at the people who aren't in their Hall of Fame, too. Bruno Sammartino's not in there. The Road Warriors aren't in there. The Fabulous Freebirds, the Midnight Express, the British Bulldogs. There's so many. So many. Rick Rude should be in there. Jake Roberts should be in there. I mean, he's probably one of the best wrestlers of the 80s. And he's not in the Hall of Fame because, for whatever reason, I guess they just don't want him there. Yet it's just ridiculous. The WWE as a whole has become a joke. Their programming is garbage. It's not interesting. They have characters on their shows that are not characters. I can't feel interested in these people. I mean, I remember watching when I was growing up, when I was a kid, and there was, the Ultimate Warrior was legitimately nuts, but little kids could still relate to him through his craziness. And Hulk Hogan, there was no one bigger than him. I had a childhood friend whose little brother went out for Halloween as Hulk Hogan one year. The difference was back then, the people creating the angles and the matches and stuff were bookers. They knew what they were doing. They weren't trying to write bad drama or corny comedy. They weren't trying to engineer these ridiculous storylines with, this character's having a 3-way with 2 other guys and blah 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 and da 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 da, and just circular logic spinning around that makes no sense, and writers writing themselves into bits simply so they can essentially show how great they are and jerk off in front of the cameras. And TNA isn't any better. I mean, they've basically hired the people who killed WCW, and now they're basically a few steps away from dying themselves. But if you want real good old-fashioned wrestling, I highly recommend people check out Ring of Honor. I've watched it a few times on HDNet, and it's some of the best wrestling programming I've ever seen. So if you got HDNet, check it out.